Coming up, it's a Disney Afternoon throwback episode. We're going to be talking about our favorite Disney Afternoon TV shows. That could be Darkwing Duck, it could be Chip and Dale, it could be who knows, but you'll have to watch and find out what we like best in this episode of Diz Pop. Diz Pop is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts in helping you plan the perfect vacation. Visit them on the web at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Ryno Clavin, joined by my launchpad McQuack over here, Craig Williams.
Salutations. Ahoy, hoy.
I don't know if that was offensive or unoffensive. Not your greeting, but the referring to you as the launchpad McQuack.
I'll take it.
He's sturdy, and he's everywhere. So, so like we said, or like I said in the teaser, I don't have schizophrenia. I'm one person. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the Disney Afternoon. And what's sad is there may be people out there that don't know what we're talking about, but only the coolest people will know, right?
Oh, yeah. No, it's this is going to be something that not a lot of people are experts in, that people are experts in. And I will be completely honest. While this was a lot of my childhood. I mean, let's be real. My childhood was made of like 3 components, maybe even 4. So we'll say Disney movies, non-Disney movies, Disney Afternoon, and then Nickelodeon and Nicktoons.
Okay,
and
yeah.
that's probably
we'll do another
so.
episode about Nickelodeon and Nicktoons, so don't you worry.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a really good idea now that you've said that. I mean, that's technically a Universal affiliated property.
Oh, yeah. We could easily stretch that.
So I think we're going to have to talk a little bit about Rocco's, Cat Dog, Angry Beavers, Doug.
I mean, most people would start at Rugrats.
Doug is
but
Disney. Doug is Disney. Well, I saved the best for last. Come on. Well, actually, I lied. Disney. Rocco is my favorite. So.
Yeah, what was the name of Doug's first movie?
It's Doug's first movie. And I know this because
Cheater.
I called you on the phone. We'll save that one for another episode that we'll call the Splat episode. But today we're talking about Disney Afternoon because I, as you know, love a Goofy movie. And for me, a Goofy movie is a continuation or a loose continuation of the television show Goof Troop, which was popular in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s. I want to say mid-90s. But and it all was part of this Disney Afternoon thing. So this isn't really a thing really anymore ever since the FCC started regulations with like advertisements during kids shows and like how much children's television had to be on during the week. Like there was a limit to this sort of stuff, but also like there were a lot of restrictions started happening in the later 90s. Like it was around the time the rating system on TV started happening with the TVY7, TVMA. If you ever notice in the upper right hand corner.
Yeah, no, and it's weird to think that we were kind of the last big generation that kind of grew up on the quote Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, no, even by the time I was like 13, 14, you still were always like, well, I want to see what they're offering, and it basically was nothing anymore. I mean, you had Disney Channel showing all of their shows on there already, and they just showed them around the clock. Same thing's happening with Nickelodeon. The networks didn't really.
Yeah, ABC had the ABC. Oh my goodness, what was it called? It was like ABC One or Disney One or something like that. I had it pulled up earlier because I was like, but it wasn't really a continuation of this. But I remember that because they had these little miniature shorts that they had, like the Green Army Men from Toy Story were like trying to do something in between the episodes. But it just kept dwindling and dwindling and dwindling till it was like nothing. I mean, my big thing was like I was always looking to watch Power Rangers on Saturday. But Power Rangers was also on brand new episodes it was Tuesday through Saturday was new episodes, and then the Saturday episode replayed on Monday.
Yeah.
And that's insane to me to think that I watched a TV show that once had 5 new episodes a week. The Power Rangers is still on the air. It's only one new episode. It's 22 episodes a year. Back then it was 50 episodes a year. It was crazy. I know it's weird, but children's TV shows like seasons would have like 50 episodes of things. Yeah, so I had to read up a little bit on this because I came into the Disney afternoon probably right in smack dab in the middle of its tenure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It started on this first lineup of it started right in 1990. But it was essentially this like 4 hour block of it. It was four different shows, but it was a 4 hour block of programming. And essentially what would happen is whatever was on first, when that season's ended, a new show would start at the end and they would all shift down 30 minutes. So as one season dropped off, another one joined in, and then one dropped off and another one joined in. So, and it all had this like advertising that had to go with it. I didn't have cable growing up, so this was kind of an after school thing for me. I would get off the bus at my grandparents' house, and my uncle had got he was still living with my grandparents at the time, and he had gotten the Disney Channel for us. And, so I must have been watching this on the Disney Channel because that's pretty much what this says. And this thing aired from 1990 all the way up until 1997. So it went on for a while.
Yeah, no, this is something that it grew up with me. I will admit it. I was born in the ripe old year of 1987. So, for me, this literally all started right along with me because I believe, like one of the shows that was classic when I was growing up was Gummi Bears, and that started before I was born.
It started, yeah, Gummi Bears. I can tell you actually right now. Let me tell you when Gummi Bears started, because it was definitely in the 80s. 80. Where does it say here?
I don't know. You tell me.
It just says the mid 80s. It doesn't give me a specific date. Okay. The series premiered on NBC September 14th, 1985. So I was not even 1 year old.
Yeah,
I was born on January 1st, 1985.
So it started before my time. I believe DuckTales started the year I was born, and Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers started shortly after that.
Those were all already airing. There was already this block of 1 hour things on that were part of this. TailSpin was the first one exclusively created for the Disney afternoon. Yeah.
There you go. So like the core three when it originally started back in, I believe you said 1990. Like those are ones that were already pretty much established by the time I started to actually remember TV, and I have those memories of growing up. So they were right there with me the entire way. And then it also helped to correlate along with it, these shows just being there for me. Then my family would take us down to Walt Disney World, and there was 2 visits at least where I was lucky enough to visit Mickey Starland, which...
Oh, yeah. I was reading about that, too.
Well, that became, obviously, Mickey's Toontown Fair, but when it was Mickey Starland, this was basically the display of all of the Disney Afternoon characters. So the reason why... all the characters were there. So when you see the characters, when you see Launchpad and Darkwing Duck out and Chip and Dale and the Rescue Rangers outfits, this is all from that 90s period when you could go to Mickey Starland and you could meet these characters and be a part of that Disney Afternoon classic cartoon characters. So it was just something that was always ingrained with me, and I think I almost got a little bit elitist with that because I think we're funny in that because I have fond memories of the original programming through the first couple, and then once you get into stuff like Gargoyles and the Mighty Ducks, I love the Mighty Ducks, the movies. I hate the animated series. I
hadn't really watched the animated series. I've seen it. I saw the premiere episode or whatever because it was a primetime thing that was on, that it was like, this is the spin-off show. And I remember thinking, like, how far from a concept, like, who watched the movie and thought of this thing? Because Mighty Ducks is just like this whole alternate world where the ducks, the mask, I remember, was something special. It did something for them. But essentially what we're going to do today is talk about our top 5 picks from here. So we're not going through every single show. We're going to tell you the ones that we enjoyed the most. But It's interesting too because I was reading there was essentially because of the popularity of this, there was this thing called a 2-year rule, and essentially it was whatever the big summer Disney movie was. 2 years later, there would be a TV show for it, and so that's where Aladdin came from, Timon and Pumbaa from The Lion King, and you were saying there was a Little Mermaid TV show.
Yeah,
too.
there was a Little
that.
Mermaid one, but that would have came well after it. Didn't they do a Hercules show again once he was young? I know Disney Afternoon ended, but they still continued making the shows. I want to say they did a Hercules one too, where it was Hercules again back when he was younger. But I could be completely making that up in my head.
I feel like that sounds familiar. I mean, I can Google Hercules TV show, but it's going to come up with Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah,
So
well, of course it will. But no, the Little Mermaid one I think took place out of the Disney Afternoon realm, as well
you're
as
right. There is a Hercules animated TV show.
another huge Disney TV show growing up that wasn't in the afternoon realm, but it was the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and they brought back the series, and that's when they did a lot of the holiday specials, Winnie the Pooh and Christmas 2, and
I remember watching
like
that show on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Like that was a show. Like whenever I went to the dentist, I feel like it was always on the TV at the dentist. That and Beekman's World.
That was one of my favorite ones. My mom bought me a couple of the VHS tapes of the Winnie the Pooh.
Well, I'll run through the lineup year by year, so we know what's in there. We'll take a trip down memory lane. I'm gonna just tell you all the shows first. So we started Adventures of Gummi Bears was the first of these animated things. Then we had DuckTales and Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, like Craig said. Those were all part of. They had already been created before this branding took place.
Shoot.
I don't know what Tomater has to do with anything, but then we got TailSpin, followed by Darkwing Duck, Goof Troop. Then you had Bonkers. Do you remember Bonkers?
Oh, I remember Bonkers.
Bonkers D. Bobcat.
What exactly was Bonkers though? He was like a.
He was like a cop.
Yeah, well, he was a cop, but he was
like a cheetah.
Yellow, and he had the black spots.
He was a cheetah, right?
Cheetah?
Isn't that a cheetah?
I don't know what a cheetah looks like.
That's a cheetah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I've never been a cheetah. So,
well, he was a bobcat. His name is Bobcat.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
Oh my God! I can't believe I just tried to say he was a cheetah. And his name is Bobcat. Wow. Although now that you do point out that he has the spots and everything like that, I've never seen a bobcat that looks like that, but whatever. Aladdin. Then you had Gargoyles, which you hate for some reason. Timon and Pumbaa, Quack Pack. I didn't remember this one. I had to look it up. But then once I looked it up, I kind of remembered it.
Oh, it's
the wannabe DuckTales almost, but Mighty Ducks. And then there was this other show somewhere in the middle there that's counted in the lineup. The Schnookums and Meat Funny Cartoon Show. Do you know what that is? It sounds horrible.
You have to realize, with me, growing up on it, I stuck with the core ones.
I remember it.
It was Bonkers was probably my cutoff where I stopped, and even I remember I didn't always necessarily enjoy Goof Troop. Goof Troop became one of those things that I ended up starting to like back again because of a Goofy movie. So it was it was a kind of a what goes around comes around situation.
Okay, there was a TV show, and now I'm like clicking through the links to see what they look like, called Marsupilami. If you look it up, it looks like marsupial and then AMI. I remember this animation of this thing, and then the Schnookums and Meat Funny Cartoon Show was their version of Ren and Stimpy. So it's a cat and a dog, and it's like supposed to be their edgy, but I don't know, whatever. But those are them. Those are all the shows, and like I said, it started, and it started with Gummi Bears, DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale, TailSpin, and then the next year, Gummi Bears rotated off, Darkwing showed up, and the next season it was DuckTales rolled away, and Goof Troop showed up, and then after that, Bonkers came in, and then Aladdin, and then it was a weird shake-up and everything like that. But for me, the sweet spot that I remember, and these will probably be on my list, is essentially like the TailSpin, Darkwing Duck, Goof Troop, and I do remember Bonkers coming on. But Aladdin was also in my rotation as well.
Blech.
Oh, okay.
Blech.
Well, so like you said, you talked about the Disney World presence of this whole thing, but there's also there was a Disneyland presence too. I never been when I was a kid, but so if you've been to Disneyland before, you know where Small World is. It's outside of Toontown.
Yes.
Mickey's Toontown, and there's that theater on the left, the Fantasyland. Is that the Fantasyland Theater? Is that what it's called?
I think so. It's where right now, currently, where they're showing Mickey and the Magical Map.
Yeah, so essentially they created this what they called the Disney Afternoon Avenue, where they did all these fake cartoon fronts that led down the Small World, that mall strip, and they had, it was like a temporary land, and all these like characters like came out to meet and greet, and they actually say that that was a test to gauge how people would react to that type of an environment, and then Toontown came after that.
Oh.
So it's interesting because Roger Rabbit is like sometimes lumped in, like Roger Rabbit was in the show that you were talking about, but he was also a part of like Toontown. So it's a weird, like Roger Rabbit's never had a very specific home anywhere in here.
No, he was supposed to have a bigger home in Hollywood studios, but never really got it.
What was the thing there that was supposed to be? I mean, I know he had footprints because his footprints are outside of the backlot.
He's got his footprints, and he's got his billboard that's still hanging up there, and the one gift shop that was that I can't remember what it was.
You come out of the backlot tour, but it's in front of the thing. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. The prop shop or something like that.
Yeah, that was all at one point in time completely Roger Rabbit themed.
Oh, wow.
So he definitely he should have had a bigger presence, and he was supposed to be bigger, kind of like the Muppets were supposed to be bigger, and never really happened. But that's for a different show.
That's a different time.
So.
Okay, well, give me. Do you have a particular order? I tried to order mine a little bit.
No. I have the 5 that I think if you were to seek them out, what are the ones you should start with first? And I'll be this, while it isn't my favorite one, I think the one that if you're trying to learn Disney Afternoon, the first one that you go to should be DuckTales.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I say that is because it is of all the shows in the Disney Afternoon block, it seems like this has the most nostalgia for it. I don't know if it's because the show starred Scrooge McDuck, who has a bigger presence in Disney besides just this cartoon, as well as Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
For me as a kid, I grew up watching. I'm not sure what year this came out in. Oh gosh, this might have come after DuckTales, but Scrooge was the main character in the Christmas. The Mickey were
Mickey's Christmas Carol that came out before.
Okay, yeah, so that's what I always thought about him as.
Exactly. So it was bigger in that, and like all the Disney Afternoon shows, DuckTales has one of the most memorable theme songs.
Oh my God, I kid you not, this weekend, and I wasn't even thinking about doing this episode, I listened to the DuckTales theme song like 5 times because I added it to like a Diz Pop playlist I was making on Spotify, and once you hear it once, it's like a 3-minute song. You've got to hear it again. It's just one of those like, it's this little gem of 90s music. Well, I guess it's 80s, but like it's that synth kind of, and like, did you hear the new one, by the way? We should have talked about this too. I mean, we can talk about it because we're talking about it.
I didn't watch it. I was still on vacation when they debuted it, so I saw it. I haven't watched it
It's
yet.
not bad. It just sounds like the music's louder than the voice, so it's hard to hear the voice in it. And so I don't know if that's just the release of it right now, but I'm very excited for that new DuckTales revival that's coming, all-star cast and everything.
Yeah, and that's also why a lot of people are very familiar with DuckTales, because they heard about the new reimagining of DuckTales that's coming out. DuckTales was a hugely popular Nintendo game that has been remastered and released a couple years ago, and they just made a Disney Afternoon collection.
Oh yeah, I just got it. You told me to get it.
Yeah, and so it's like that game helped keep propelling it forward, and then of course the other show that kind of eventually came after is a spin-off or not a spin-off.
We'll talk about that one next.
We'll talk about that next, but Darkwing Duck helped keep it alive too. So DuckTales is the go-to first spot, and for me it also helped because it added on a movie that has just been like pure nostalgia always for me, but it was DuckTales Treasure of the Lost Lamp. And
I remember watching this. Like, I remember, I mean, not in the movie theater. I don't know if it was in the movie theater, was it?
I couldn't tell you, but I know we had at least a taped copy that we had on VHS, and then it eventually became like a Disney Movie Club exclusive or a Disney Movie Rewards exclusive, and I got it from that on DVD. But
it was released theatrically. I'm checking it up right now.
I probably saw it in theaters, and just had a love for it too. It was a great movie. And it still is. Like Rip Taylor is
I know you
the
were just
voice of
telling
the
me this,
genie
and
in
I'm
it,
like,
which is absolutely ridiculous. Christopher Lloyd is also, he's the villain in the movie too. So you throw those two together, plus all the DuckTales. DuckTales just created such a great legacy.
it's the
And
first
I love it.
first animated film by the Disney Toon Studios as well, which did
Okay.
the Goofy movie.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Goofy movie, yeah.
Yeah, it did Goofy movie. It's done a lot of movies. Technically, Toon Studio, Disney Toons is what even put out like the Planes movies. So
Oh,
it's
okay. Yeah, Goofy movie, Tigger movie, Return to Neverland. A lot of these sequel gems.
they were producing the sequel crap.
Yeah, The
so.
Return of Jafar, Aladdin and the King of Thieves. Yeah, a lot of the straight-to-DVD stuff. But a bunch of theatrical releases. The Pooh's Heffalump movie.
Yeah, and a lot of them were theatrical too.
Well, so for those of you who don't know, like I guess we should have, we could have done a whole episode on DuckTales.
That'll come later.
Yeah, because we can do the video game and everything. That would be fun. But I'll tell you the plot loosely. Essentially, is that Donald has gone to join the Navy, so his outfit makes sense.
You want to sail the seven seas?
I was thinking in the Navy.
That's the same thing.
Oh, is it?
I
Okay.
think I'm still sick. The tone might be off a little bit.
But so he leaves Duckburg and he leaves the Huey, Dewey, and Louie, his nephews, for some reason they're just left with, I don't know, to look after. Scrooge McDuck looks after them, and essentially so there's I didn't know this because the new animated series has a female in it as well. I didn't know she was from the cartoon series because I didn't remember her in the cartoon series. Webby. Mm-hmm. And then, which I guess is the daughter of one of Scrooge's like people that work for him.
Yeah, she is perhaps one of the most obnoxious ones because it's like you take the voice of Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and then add in that like little extra. I don't know what the right word to say without getting people pissed off at me. So back to you.
Well, it's essentially Scrooge is always looking for ways to make himself more rich and whatever.
Yeah,
and this show gave us Launchpad McQuack, who is the Scrooge's pilot, and then it also gave us everyone's favorite, one of their favorites, superhero ducks, Gizmo Duck.
Yeah. Well, and you also forgot about the B side of the plot. He's looking for a way to make more money, and there's always a villain out there looking for ways to steal that money.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that kind of comes into play. So, anyway, sorry, I'm like, there's just this rabbit hole that you go down when you start looking into these old shows too, because I'm fascinated in like the production of them as well. Like sometimes, as we know with Disney, they produce a lot of very throwaway entertainment, and sometimes it becomes a lot more. They don't always know what's going to hit, and sometimes that throwaway entertainment explodes.
Yeah,
and it's interesting to see like read about like original concepts versus this, and this is kind of where Darkwing Duck's going to come in, because Darkwing Duck was conceived as a spinoff to DuckTales. If you may or may not know, it involves Launchpad, and Gizmo Duck makes an appearance. This one ran for 2 seasons, I guess, but it was like 91 episodes.
Yeah.
DuckTales was 3 seasons; it was 100 episodes. So, but it's about Darkwing Duck was essentially like a Batman character, and he Launchpad is his sidekick, and then his secret identity is Drake Mallard, and he becomes the ward of Gosselin, a little girl duck, and it's essentially about him dealing with that, like trying to be a good father, and but he likes being the superhero in the limelight, so. The thing is, this recently came out because the creator of this, Todd Stones, is that his name?
I believe it was Tad Stones.
Tad Stones.
Yeah.
He said that he considered this an alternate universe from DuckTales, but we watched this interesting video that's on Nerdist, and it was about how there is proof in the show that it is not an alternate universe. Yeah. It is, in fact, the same place, because Gizmo Duck comes from Duckburg, which has a sign, like a picture of Scrooge McDuck on it and all this stuff. And the Saint Mallard, which is the name of the city that he protects, is there's a I don't know what to call it, prison, asylum, whatever. I forget the name of it, but it's where all the criminals go, and it has the same criminals in it from DuckTales. So how can it not be? Come on. Also, don't ruin it for us. It's connected. We all want to believe it's all there together. I like the idea of that the DuckTales was the first thing to do a shared universe in the Disney cinematic universe. You know what I mean? Well, because they were first. They had the DuckTales movie. So.
Well, now you're just stretching.
I know. But I when I was looking up this stuff, I noticed. So the guy who does the voice of Darkwing Duck is a Disney. You know the voice. It's Jim Cummings, and he is the voice of like Winnie the Pooh since the 80s. He's Pete, Tigger, Bonkers the Bobcat, King Louie on TailSpin, Monterey Jack from season 2 onward of Rescue Rangers, and he's is it Zummy Gummy or Zoomy Gummy, the Gummy Bear, Fat Cat from Rescue Rangers. Yep. So essentially, the Disney Afternoon was this guy's gold mine. Because he was a voice in every one of these shows.
And he's still around this day.
Oh yeah, well he still currently is the voice of Winnie the Pooh. He's like the official voice. So, so that was so DuckTales, Darkwing Duck. Those are 2 on my list. What's the third that you have?
Well, I think the third, since those kind of 2 separate but lumped together. So number 3 that you have to bring up when you're talking about Disney Afternoon is Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers.
Chip and Dale.
Another epic theme song.
It was written by the same people. Well, Chip and Dale and DuckTales were the same guys who wrote the song.
In my opinion, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers has the better of the theme songs. I know that would be sacrilege to most.
Sometimes.
See, for me, Chip 'n Dale, that was my show. That's the one that I latched onto. It had the action and adventure of kind of like watching something like Indiana Jones-esque. It actually reminded me a lot of watching Muppet Babies, which was another one of my favorite shows growing up, because they did the same. It had that same stylistic energy, and just watching any Disney cartoons, knowing Chip 'n Dale from that, but then finding a fondness for them when you add on Monterey Jack, the big fat mouse that's with them, and Gadget, who still has her Go Coaster over in Disneyland,
right next to Chip 'n Dale's house,
and in Zipper, the lovable fly that is also in.
I always liked Monterey Jack cheese.
Yeah. No, there was just I loved the whole take on this show. More of a not just like a straight up bad versus good, but there was that solving cases.
Yeah, I like the detective agency idea to it. It was always something like almost film noir for an animated series. You know what I mean? And you're right. I mean, essentially, Chip is modeled after Indiana Jones, and then Dale is supposed to be from Miami Vice. It's supposed to be Tom Selleck's character.
Yep, that's exactly it.
And that's what it's great. And I wish we saw them in these outfits more in the parks and stuff like that. I know it's a shame. It's one of those like throwback things that I think Disney needs to really lean on that nostalgia a little heavier. So hopefully DuckTales does well, so maybe we could see Chip and Dale.
Yeah, that's the tough part with these. Something we probably should have mentioned up at the top of the show. A lot of these are available, not complete sets, but a lot of episodes for all the shows we're talking about have been released on DVD. Just like DuckTales and Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Ranger were released on. The sets weren't complete. And then I believe TailSpin, I think they completely released that, and maybe Darkwing Duck as well too. But so it's really hard. While you can get a good fill of these shows,
no, you can't.
They're just not as easily accessible as they should be. They should be rerun all the time. I mean, Disney Channel for a while was rerunning episodes of Even Stevens and Lizzie McGuire and all that crap on there. Yeah. So if they can show all of that, why can't they show these classic cartoons? They have Disney Junior too. These would be perfect on there. And then I wouldn't be ashamed to say I watch Disney Junior. I don't watch it right now though. But if it was on there, I could say proudly I watched Disney Junior.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm glad that you can
I will
admit
get
that.
off my soapbox.
No,
now.
no.
I'm off it.
So,
Rescue Rangers.
yeah,
Great
Rescue
show.
Rangers, like we said, it's Chippendale have started a detective agency, Rescue Rangers, and with the help of their Gadget, Monterey Jack, and Zipper, they solve the crimes that are too small for the regular police. So, I don't. You said a lot, so there's not really much I can add to it. This was just a fun show. Like my favorite was Fat Cat because I was meow, see. I don't know. This was also an era for us, and it's probably just because we grew up in this era where it seemed like all the cartoon voices were perfect. You know what I mean? They were all, you didn't really know who they were.
Yeah.
But they all just like were that thing, you know? I don't have that same connection to them as much as I used to.
Yeah, no, I don't. I maybe go out on a limb and say that it's because now
They bank on celebrities.
well, they bank on like one or two celebrities, and then but there are a lot of really talented voiceover artists that still get a lot of work done. But you have to think about it in a way like Billy West and how far he's come. Like, forgive me, I don't know every little detail about his career, but you know, I know him from Ren and Stimpy. I know him as the Red M&M, and then all the way up through
It's my favorite M&M.
Futurama. Like, and it's just this one thing that, you know, I'm sure when he started, he was this no-name voice actor who just got lucky and landed a job, and now his voice is completely iconic. And so, you know, the door's still open for that today, and I think it's just it's different when you're in a different age. Like, there was a couple of years back, I don't know why I was so stupid to think about it. I'm like, you know what I never see on TV anymore? I never see commercials for like the newest, coolest toys that are out there. And then I realized it's because I don't watch Nickelodeon at 12 in the afternoon anymore.
You're not looking for the newest koosh ball these days.
Exactly. It's like, you know what?
Slime.
We had to skip it. What do they have?
They don't have Floam anymore, you know? They don't have GAC.
They have nothing.
We had commercials for that stuff. They used to have to advertise for us to get that stuff.
I know.
Yeah. We should do an episode sometime where it's just our favorite commercials of our childhood.
Oh, Tornado Rex all the way. Someone out there will know.
Crossfire!
Yeah, exactly.
I like anything with a really catchy, intense. Pop Goes Perfection also had another one. That creepy guy with the huge chin and the chest that would explode.
Oh, yeah.
Sir, are you okay? Okay, so we're catching up here. DuckTales, Darkwing, Chip and Dale, and now I want to move into Goof Troop, which is on my list. I'm assuming it's on your list, right?
Yeah, no, I think we both have the same base 5.
And then we have a little honorable mention. This one I feel like people are maybe more familiar with because that movie is kind of the spinoff of it, but it's also its own thing. Well, I mean, he lives in the same house and it is the same town, so it's like, so the whole idea is that Goofy is a single father, as we all know, who is Max's mother. We don't know, who moves back to the town he grew up in, Spoonerville. With his 11-and-a-half-year-old son, Max, and he moves in next door to his high school friend, Pete, who you know is from Steamboat.
Willie.
God, I forgot the name for a second.
It's okay. That's why I'm here.
I could see it in my head, but Pete's got a wife, Peg, who's a real estate agent. She's dressed very like shoulder pads, tight hairspray, and then their son PJ, and which is Pete Jr. obviously, and then the 4-year-old daughter Pistol, and then they have a cat too. Wait, they have a cat or Goofy has the cat? I remember a cat on that show too, but essentially it's this show is what it is. I mean, that's what the plot is. It's essentially Max and Pete become friends, and Max's personality is the complete opposite of his father's, and hijinks ensue. You know what I mean? Yep, always different characters about different things.
Yeah, there wasn't really a lot of stakes in this show. I don't know why I said that with such a southern accent.
There were no steaks here, no fried green tomatoes, if you will.
There was not. No, it was a very, very easygoing, more goofy-based show than anything else. Which, that's why I said when we kind of just mentioned it earlier. I think it was more one of those things when the show came out. It was I wasn't hooked on it, but then a Goofy movie kind of forced me to watch it. And try to get as much out of it as I could.
Well, you know what I love about Goof Troop and Goofy Movie is, and I love Goof Troop. Don't get me wrong. That was the one that was always on. That was the one I would catch the most, I think. And Max was cool, even an 11.5-year-old. I thought the high school Max was even cooler, but it was just like, he was a skateboarder and all that stuff. But it's the first or the most prevalent that I can think of example of a cartoon character that grows and ages.
Yeah.
Because the Max is 11.5, and then in a Goofy movie, he's like 15. And while he's Goofy lets him drive, so he's over than 16, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the rules are in Spoonerville, but...
No, but you kind of nailed it. They did. They definitely also paid attention to where their audience was at, to the fact that the kids who started off in Disney Afternoon were starting to grow up. And while you needed to maintain a new audience of young kids, you also had to, you had to cater to the people you want still watching it. And they did that.
Yeah, so I just read this too. Well, and then Extremely Goofy Movie, he was in college, so it kept getting older, which is, I really like that. I really but
we don't need to talk about an Extremely Goofy Movie.
Somebody gave me once for Christmas, both of the movies, and I have still yet to open Extremely Goofy Movie. I've never actually seen it. I've only seen the trailer for it, because that movie came out at that whole that phase of just horrible, like everything was extreme sports.
Yeah.
Everything had to have extreme in it. It was Extreme Spider-Man, Extreme this, Extreme that, and that was all the marketing with big X's and everything, and I was like, oh no.
Well, as an X game enthusiast, I highly agree with that. That all needs that.
Well, apparently the voice of Max died in 1996. She had a stroke. Yeah, so that's sad. I didn't know that. So I'm wondering if that was part of the reason why they propelled his age forward to add Jason Marsden as the voice there.
Yeah, that could have been.
But so always a big fan of that. That had 2 seasons, 79 episodes, and then I have TailSpin on my list because, like you said earlier, TailSpin was the first one specifically created to this. Plus, I feel like Baloo is my favorite character from the Jungle Book. Really, he's my
Well, yeah, you don't have that many characters to choose from for the Jungle Book in terms of favorites.
Of the 3 characters, he's my favorite. I like Bagheera too.
He's no King Louie.
Well, King Louie, all these characters here. So this one's the weirdest one. I feel like the rest are kind of in there how they were. TailSpin is not how Baloo, King Louie, Shere Khan, how they lived. It's them in a new setting. So now it's this town, Cape Suzette, and it's just it was a weird. Hold on, let me see if I can find a synopsis of it. So Cape Suzette, apparently that's a pun on Crepe Suzette.
It's a good one. Most kids got it.
Okay. Anyway, so it's this small town. I'm reading this from this Disney fan wiki, so excuse me. I don't want to plagiarize their work, but they do good work. So, the time frame of the series is never really addressed either, but from the aesthetic and the vibe of the show, apparently it's the 30s. So it's centered on the adventures of a bush pilot who is Baloo the bear. He's got a failing air cargo freight business that is bought by Rebecca Cunningham, and I remember Rebecca. She had the big hair, and and it was renamed Hire for Hire. And then there's also the orphan kid who was part of the Air Pirates, which serve as kind of the series antagonist. Excuse me. But I remember this kid because Kit Cloud Kicker, he had that cool disc. It was that crescent shaped thing that he always carried, that metal thing, and he would throw it out and he would air surf behind Baloo's plane. So that was always cool. But so he calls Baloo Papa Bear. I don't really know what the plot of the show necessarily. I can't remember specific plots of the show.
It was basically Baloo and company.
And
doing
he's hired out for missions,
against air pirates.
Okay, I wasn't 100% sure if I was getting it right, because it seems like a really thinly based idea.
It was very thin in the plot realm, but I think it did provide enough action and adventure, kind of like DuckTales and Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers did, that you can get get through with it. It still has enjoyable elements, and then the fact bringing Baloo, and that's just it's. I don't know if there was a re-release of the Jungle Book into theaters a little bit before they made the decision to do this show, but that would make sense because I feel like they were very well-known characters. I'm probably sure that I started liking Jungle Book because
that's the
Baloo.
same for me. That's the only. That's like it wasn't a. I mean, we watched it when I was a kid, but my love of Jungle Book is because of Baloo, and I think it's from this movie. And I think again, it's got that Indiana Jones vibe.
Yeah.
It takes place in that time frame, and it's got that kind of aesthetic and the air pilot, and plus you like the guy that's. I always have enjoyed that story of the take charge woman who comes in and fixes up the rundown business. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know what it is. It's just a weird thing that it always adds good chemistry for me. I feel like because you got it's like the Han Solo to the Princess Leia type of a situation. You know what I mean? He's like the smuggler, and then she's the. I'm going to be in charge. And,
I totally get it.
I apparently, well, I will have to talk about this after the show, but there were 2 episodes that were banned.
Why?
One, okay, so 2 episodes of TailSpin were, one was temporarily banned, the other has been permanently banned. There's one called Last Horizons. So investigation of the reason why it was banned has said that it allegedly stereotyped Asians. The villain in the episode is an anthropomorphic panda emperor named Wan Lo, living in a mock pre-World War II Asian nation called Pandala, like Shangri-La, I guess, who takes Baloo into his country to exploit his naivety and attacks Cape Suzette. Good pandas especially dislike... Okay, there's a whole thing about why what happens in the episode that's bad stuff. But there's another.
Yeah, you did a pretty good job of already summing that up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's, apparently too. It says the second episode, which was actually the last of the series, the one to be banned was immediately pulled and not seen again for a decade. The apparent reason for the banning from the airwaves is the terrorist theme associated with it. Yikes. So that probably means you probably can't even... I don't know if you can watch it now or not. But it says the general synopsis of the episode begins with Baloo being asked to deliver a goodwill present, a cuckoo clock, he's told, to the High Marshal of Thembria from Cape Suzette. Baloo is unaware until the end of the episode that the package actually contains a time bomb planted by munitions manufacturers who wish to provoke a war between Thembria and Cape Suzette in order to boost weapon sales. But they think because these things were kind of airing in reruns after this time frame, that they think it was because of 9/11 that it ended up getting permanently banned.
I could totally understand that. So it's not the first time that Disney related stuff has been banned. So you never know what's going to make it. So and sometimes this stuff does come back too, because there was the one episode of Boy Meets World that got banned. That was where him and Sean get drunk, and eventually they loosened up, and they're now showing that one again. So you never know if it'll ever come back.
We should totally do a TGIF episode too now.
Absolutely.
But so that's just crazy to me. I love reading about that stuff too. It just... We live in a different time now, too. So I'm sure there are other episodes. I was watching Captain Planet the other day. Yeah, I know. I was watching it. I was putting it on to hear noise. I don't own it. It was at my friend's house. And there's an episode where the bad guy is calling this Planeteer. He's like, it's probably just a sissy. And you're like, whoa, like, you can't say that anymore. And it's weird because that show's so pro, be who you want to be and do the right thing. And then here this bad guy's like, you're a sissy.
Yeah, that PC police is out in control today.
No, probably for the better. But anyway, so that rounds out my top 5. Yeah, you want to give one of your honorable mentions? Yeah,
the only other one that if you were ever going to look back onto it, which is something I need to do because I just forget about it every now, but I mentioned the one that started it all. That's another one that I grew up with, the Adventures of the Gummi Bears.
Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere. I think that's how the song went.
And then, it went into the gummy berry juice.
Remember the
Gummy
berry juice? They had the
yeah.
juice in the beakers and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
and it's bouncing
Boom, there's our next drink for when we do the episode 2, arts and crafts and drink. Boom.
gummy berry juice. No, it's just, it was very fantastical, and I felt like it came out at a good time too, right when Care Bears were super crazy popular, and on top of all that, it is something I need to go back and find episodes, I'm sure on YouTube and such, because it's been so long since I've watched anything with it. So, but that's
I always liked the voice of the grandmother. I can't remember her name, or she might not even been the grandmother. That might be rude of me to say that. But
well, it was.
Oh
rude
no,
of
it was
you.
Grammy Gummy.
It was rude of you still.
Yeah.
Just ageism.
Gummyism. Well, one I'd like to mention is Gargoyles, which has a weird history because the first 2 seasons were part of this, and then it had a 3rd season that didn't air as part of this, but aired somewhere else. This was a show that was like a dark show, and it was the guy who brings the gargoyles back to life in the 20th century. I know it was last century. Was Jonathan Frakes from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yes. So this one was also like a weird. I liked it when I caught the episodes that were about the modern day, but then the 3rd season, I guess, got like a subtitle that was like the Goliath Chronicles. So it was all about Goliath and the lady gargoyle, whose name I can't remember. And they were like traveling through time on this boat in a river. And I was like, I don't like this one as much. I liked when it was like all the other gargoyles were there and doing their thing and whatever. But it was it felt, when I was watching it, I was like, this feels very mature. I don't know if I should be watching this.
I will admit, when Gargoyles came on, that's when I would switch over to Nickelodeon.
But it had the cool, like, the animation in the beginning with the claws going up the wall and the theme song. And
I was just never a fan.
No?
So,
The Aladdin TV show, I watched that a lot, too. I don't know that I would classify that as really being... I mean, I know it says it's part of this, but I never think about that as being part of this. I just watched that. I just watched it. It was random. It was weird. I always felt uncomfortable when the genie wasn't Robin Williams. But I for some reason, it was on a lot.
yeah, I did not watch this one either. So, there was so much content out there for kids at the time. I can't imagine how they grow up today having YouTube and being able to choose anything they want to watch. Because back then, when we just had a couple channels, it was already hard enough.
I mean, Flixster, Netflix, Flixster. Who's watching Flixster? Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, it's just, there's so much out there now.
Yeah. And for us, it was like we had this limited rotation. That's all we had. We had to wait until there was another thing. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you had Fox Kids, you had Disney Afternoon, you had Nicktoons. Or it wasn't Nicktoons yet, but it was just Nickelodeon. But
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Because Nickelodeon had its own lineup, too, in the evening. Because it had Are You Afraid of the Dark? Rocko's Modern Life was on, too.
That would be Snick.
No. During the week. Are You Afraid of the Dark was on during the week, too. Snick was when it was
On
the
Saturdays.
new episode was on Saturday, but it was on as part of a rotation during the week as well. Because my sister got really scared watching an episode about a monster in a pool, and she was afraid to go in a pool for quite some time after that. But I think that's what we'll have to do in another episode is talk about Snick, because now I'm excited about that. But I'm also excited to go home and play that DuckTales game I have now too.
Oh, good.
So I'd like to know what your favorite show was in the Disney afternoon lineup, or what one of these Disney animated shows that you grew up watching and loving. Like, did we miss one of them? I mean, we didn't even talk about Timon and Pumbaa at all, but I didn't watch that. That was when I was like, I knew that was like cheap. It didn't feel right. I mean, I did eat the popsicles that came out after it with the little gummies inside of it because I did enjoy those.
I had a computer game based on the show, and I enjoyed that more than I did the show.
Is it weird that now at Fort Wilderness before the movie, there's a Timon and Pumbaa safety video about stranger danger on the internet? And I think to myself, this video came out before the internet. This movie came out before the internet. And now these characters are telling us about, don't log on to the internet and believe what you hear.
Yeah, that was one of the highlights of the night that we spent there.
Yeah. But, are there crazy people out there that love the Mighty Ducks cartoon show? I want to know who you are. And I think I'm going to have to come up with some sort of arts and crafts oriented at this lineup or something like that. And now you got me thinking about that gummy bear juice drink and all that stuff. So if you have some fun activity you've done with this, or you've reminisced recently about this, or you have a favorite thing about this, or you have, like Craig just said, he's going to revisit some of these old episodes, and I'm going to do the same. Are there other episodes that you guys love that we should definitely be watching and not missing out on? Let us know in the comments below, on Twitter, DizPop Show, or our other Twitters, whatever. But I think that's going to do it. Thank you, Craig, for talking along with me here.
Oh, thank you.
And that'll do it for this episode of DizPop.